You know, it's always wonderful going back and seeing someone who's been on before, and like to bring back a guest we had a couple years ago, artist Wendyn Cadden from Kala in Berkeley. Wendyn, how are you?
I'm doing fine.
You know, I thought it was so funny when you first came on the set today. You said you were trying to retire, and I said, from what, being an artist? And you said, no, from being a professional lesbian. I love that.
Well, I don't think I really am allowed to retire from being a combative activist lesbian.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's still much work to be done, and I'll continue to do it. But my partner and I are trying to sell our house and move on to a new venue, so it is a kind of retirement.
Right.
And it does make me think a lot about what it means to move your life and change your life in significant ways, and become an elder spokesman rather than a young tyke. You know, my baby butch self. You know, the ways that we made trouble when we were young have definitely changed.
Do you think that's true? You think that activism has changed during the life of your being out, you and your partner?
Oh, absolutely.
How so?
Absolutely. Well, I think that, you know, the focus has been on really becoming a part of this society, changing the laws, making a way for us to have all of our civil rights. And, you know, this Supreme Court decision is incredibly important for all of our lives. My partner is a colonel retired from the Army, and it would be very significant if I could have her health care, for example, which I certainly should have. You know, she has been serving in silence for the duration of her career, and it's, although she was outspoken at a certain point in time, but the fact is that all of those benefits and the perks of being married to someone in the military should be mine, and they are not. And there are also many ways that activism has changed. Activism right now is focused much more on how we are a part of this society, on the integration into the society, where years ago we were desperate to just find ways to not have an alcoholic center for our lives as lesbians and be stuck in the bars as the only kind of social interaction that we had, and we really wanted many more ways to interact in society, and we have found them, and now we're quite mainstream in many ways, and yet there are still hurdles and many changes yet to be made.
Right. Now, how long have you and is it partner or wife? Are you legally married?
No, we're not married because we've spent a lot of effort making a trust, and we didn't take advantage of that one moment.
Little brief, my husband and I got married in that brief moment.
You did the deed. Well,
yeah.
Congratulations.
We just ran quick, so I mean, we got down to City Hall.
Yeah, but we probably will run quick if this next decision is made.
Right,
because then if the Defense of Marriage Act is deemed unconstitutional, then certainly the Army will change its policies.
Right.
And
now, talk to me about meeting your partner. Your partner is a retired Army colonel, correct?
Correct.
And at what point did she come out to the military? After she had retired?
Actually, she was called up to Desert Storm, and at that point, she already had retired. But at that point in time, she went to her commanding officer and said, you know, my partner would not like me to go. This is not something she believes in, you know. And sure enough, I was out on the bridge protesting the war because I didn't believe in that war. But she did come out to her commanding officer, and he said, "Oh, well, you know, this doesn't matter. We need you."
Right. So again, we can be gay if we're needed.
Exactly.
But if we're not needed, we're persecuted. Right.
Of course. Yeah.
So now, are you able to say your partner's name? I mean, is she that out? I mean,
yes.
It is Colonel.
She is Colonel Nyland Morgan.
Right.
Yeah.
And so her commanding officer said, was he surprised? Did he say, "Well, gosh, what a shock!
No,
I didn't think you were gay"?
you know, most people really recognize how many gay men and women in the services are gay. People know this, and often know personally many officers or enlisted people who are gay, but they just basically don't talk about it.
So the closet runs both ways. Until Don't Ask, Don't Tell was revoked, there were people that lived in the closet, and there were the people on the outside, the commanding officers, that wouldn't open the door. Yeah. You know, it always reminds me of that probably apocryphal story that during World War II, evidently there was some anti-gay witch hunts, and General Eisenhower, the supreme commander, got an order saying, you know, you have to rout all the open gays and lesbians, and his adjutant came to him, it was a woman, and said, well, I guess you're going to have to start with me, at which point I understand he tore up the order. It seems like a long time to wait for justice. How long have you and your partner been together?
24 years.
Did you ever feel that there were times when, because I'm sure that you went to functions together, or did you not? Were you in the closet as a couple, or did other members of the military know about your relationship?
Most of the people we knew were retired, but we did go to someone's retirement party, and we certainly were present at a few Army bases, and we one friend died of AIDS, and we went to a military funeral, a very sad moment, but you know, always as a couple. So we were not outrageously out. I always was. She was more cautious.
Because you're the baby butch.
Exactly, exactly, and it was my history as well, because I was always an activist involved with the Women's Press Collective and the first Gay Women's Liberation, which was formed in this area. So,
now, you were against Desert Storm, so against the Second Iraq War and against the First Iraq War. What was that like for you being married to the military?
It was very, very difficult, especially...
I mean, did you and your partner have problems? Did she say to you, you know, I think you're wrong on this one?
No, she agreed completely. But it was still very emotional for me, and I did call some of her colleagues, you know, some of the people, the women she had been in the military with, to ask them, you know, what do I do? How do I do this? Because it was my first experience being basically being a war widow. I mean, waiting at home and taking care of the computer and the cat.
Were you scared?
No, but I was concerned about the war. She could have been also censured for speaking out, which she was, you know, there were people who were put in jail at that point and would lose their medical licenses under those circumstances. So she did not go that far, and fortunately didn't have a problem with her medical license.
Right. You know, you have been an activist in the LGBT community, specifically the women's and lesbian community, for a very long time. And I want to go back to something you said at the beginning of the interview. You said it's changed. You know, our issues now seem to be becoming mainstream. You know, it looks like, you know, as of this taping, we have 12 states in the District of Columbia that recognize same-sex marriage, more and more European countries. It's now center stage with a number of religious issues. I mean, my goodness, you've even got Republicans and Democrats in the Senate and the Congress seeming to try to get ahead of the Supreme Court to say, we're pro-gay, we're pro-gay, we're pro-gay. Do you think they had like a Paul on the road to Damascus moment and suddenly realized, wow, it's the right thing to do? Or they suddenly realized that being pro-gay is good for business? I.e., have we won yet?
I think we've won not because it's good for business. Of course, we know it's good for business. But I think the reason we've won is because we're 10%. Because every family has a representative. Every group, every workplace has someone who's gay. There is no place in the country that doesn't have a gay person, whether it is in that Baptist church where, you know, they're singing songs about that may imply that there are only straight couples. You know, there is no place in this country where we are not represented, and that's what's happening. You know, there are many times when we hide our identity, and it doesn't serve us well, because really everyone we know knows who we are,
right.
and they love who we are, and that's what's changed the world.
Right. But you
That's
said
what's
activism had also changed. Are you still as feisty and outspoken as you were 20, 30 years ago?
I am, but in a different way. You know, I'm more enthusiastic about my grandniece. You know, and I'm closer with my family, and I'm closer to people that I grew up with. In many ways, there was a hiding, or there was a separation. I left my hometown of New York City as soon as I could, because I just wanted to be who I was. But today, you go back, you make those connections again, and everybody loves you who loved you before, right. And it is a different world.
What would you say to the new generation of activists, the new baby butches of the world? I mean, you know, here we are in Pride Month. You know, hopefully it'll be a very celebratory, celebration. Certainly by Gay Pride this year, we'll know about the Prop 8 decision. I think a lot of us are, knock wood, feeling confident. What do you say to a new generation of activists? Are there still a lot of fights left?
There are a lot of fights that are left, and a lot of them are personal. We still have to claim our identity, and that's what I would say. You know, make sure that you be who you are. Be who you are and will be. You know, you have to take hold of that identity and use it well. Mm-hmm. And the very term baby butch, I can't really talk to those baby butches, because there aren't butches and femmes anymore. Certainly that has changed, and that's an important change. You know, that people aren't put in categories and roles and stereotypes.
Yeah. How does it feel to be, as you said at the beginning, an elder?
Well, that's what I'm wrestling with. For one thing, I don't want to act all that old, but it feels good, because I have a perspective that I can share with young people about how long this struggle has taken place. And of course, I don't know, and there are, I still have elders, wonderful elders who are still alive and kicking, and they, I think, are as astonished as I am at the changes in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
In our last few moments, tell me what you think is going to happen with the Supreme Court decision. What's your gut?
My gut is that DOMA will be deemed...
The Defense of Marriage Act.
Defense of Marriage Act will be deemed unconstitutional. It must, because the military has already really integrated. So how can you deny some people some rights and others not? You know, you can't make that distinction. So that, I believe, will be unconstitutional. I think Proposition 8 will be thrown right back to the state. I think that's what they'll do.
Yeah, so we may get California, but then we've got to wait for the rest. Well, I've got everything. I got 2 of crossed, so we'll see. Okay. Thank you. We've been speaking with Wendyn Cadden. Happy Pride Month to everyone. Thanks for watching 10%. I'm David Perry. We'll look forward to seeing you next week.